look at the camera.
Hi there. The term having a good eye is often thrown about, but if you ever really have to convince someone that such a thing exists, then Elliott Erwitt would be a perfect choice for Exhibit A. He was also a no BS kind of guy. One could pretty much throw any kind of assignment his way and he would come back with great pictures. Bruce Davidson said he's the kind of photographer all of us secretly wish we could be. While Rennie Beery was quoted as saying, behind every one of his jokes is a tenderness that makes you want to laugh and cry at the same time. When making these videos, I often have to really work hard to find the great images from the photographers that I speak about. But with Elliott Erwitt, it's been extremely easy. He had an extremely high hit rate. I know merit and hierarchies are frowned upon these days, but sometimes it's interesting to consider how many great pictures a photographer has made in their lifetime. For some big names, it might be 40 or 60. But there are literally hundreds of Erwitt pictures that any photographer would be proud to have taken. Erwitt was born in Paris, and when he was 10, his family emigrated to the US. He had Russian Jewish parents, so in 1939 they were escaping the rise of fascism in Europe. His interest in photography began while he was at school in LA, and then afterwards he moved to New York to study film and photography. There he met influential photographers like Edward Steichen and Roy Stryker. Stryker had directed the famous FSA photography project in the 1930s, and he sent a few assignments in Erwitt's direction. One of these was shooting Pittsburgh at a time when it was transforming from a polluted industrial city into a modern metropolis. He gave Erwitt free rein to shoot whatever he liked. And this was an unusual approach for Stryker, but he was obviously impressed by what the 22-year-old had produced on previous shoots. Erwitt worked on the project for a year, and you can see from this series that even at this early stage in his career, he was seeing his subject clearly and capturing moments that were extremely eloquent. This self-portrait was made while he was working in Pittsburgh. In 1953, when he was in his mid-20s, he met Robert Capa. After looking through his portfolio, Capa recognized Erwitt's potential and invited him to join Magnum. The collective provided a home for Erwitt for the next 70 years.
Success is freedom to do what you feel like doing at the moment. And this has been one of my guiding principles throughout my career. And I think it'll continue to be. He likes me.
Yeah, I know.
Right from the outset, he realized that he wasn't interested in covering major world events. Rather, he was drawn to the little human moments that happen to everyone. He absorbed the idea of the decisive moment, but he modified it. While Cartier-Bresson pursued elegance and geometry in his fleeting instance, Erwitt looked for irony and humor. His irony wasn't the judgmental kind. Cartier-Bresson said, Erwitt is a master of irony, but never at the expense of compassion. His sense of timing was so incredibly sharp that he never had to resort to ridicule. Erwitt's technical style is deceptively simple. Small format Leica cameras and minimal staging. But this simplicity was perfect for the type of pictures that he was looking for. He wanted to stay invisible, allowing the real moments to unfold. He knew that life itself is strange, funny, and poignant if one only pays attention.
I don't generally set up images as a rule. I mean, there might be one or two that are staged, but not really staged, sort of directed in a certain way. And in this case, it's just waiting for something to happen. I think luck is a very important factor in taking pictures, or a kind of instinct, or kind of a sense that something's going to happen. When I'm working, I'm always looking, and sometimes I'm not looking, but it just happens.
His compositions rely on visual wit and symmetry, but they never really feel contrived. If you compare his work to that of his colleague and friend Josef Kadelka, the Czech is often drawn to images and subjects that are stark, tragic, or dramatic, while Elliott almost always manages to insert a playful element. Even when he was photographing significant political moments, like the famous kitchen debate between Nixon and Khrushchev, he conveys the idea that politicians, while in public, often perform their roles in a theatrical manner.
It's the official opening of the American Exposition, counterpart of the Soviet trade show in New York, and dedicated to showcasing the high standard of life in our country. But on this occasion, traditional diplomacy goes by the board.
In 1959, Vice President Richard Nixon visited Moscow and met with Khrushchev. They toured an exhibit mounted by the Americans showing the benefits of the capitalist society. Erwitt just happened to be there because he was on an assignment for Westinghouse Electric, taking pictures of their refrigerators. While these two leaders were walking about, they were lightly debating the merits of communism versus capitalism. The discussion got particularly heated near a model of a typical American kitchen. That's how the confrontation became known as the kitchen debate. Erwitt just happened to be in the kitchen when the interchange happened, while the other photographers were unable to gain access. So he was able to just calmly pick off the right moments. A year later, when Nixon was running against JFK, he used Erwitt's picture for his campaign. This frame gives the impression that Nixon was tough and could stand up to the Soviet. Whereas if this image was made public, it would have had the opposite psychological effect. Even though he appropriated Elliott's image, JFK won the election. Elliott was always suspicious of anyone who was overly earnest or pretentious about their photographs, so I'll tread lightly with some of his iconic shots. He famously said, "Photography is not rocket science. Essentially, you buy the camera and follow the instructions on the box."
There's the magic of photography, which is something that you can't describe. Some people have it, some people don't. All good photographers have composition. That's just part of the formula. There's a lot more to it. Magic is not describable. It's either you have it or you don't. It's sort of like a joke, you know. Once you explain a joke, it's not funny anymore. If you're good at explaining things, then maybe you can, but why should you?
California Kiss 1955 is one of his most famous images, and probably one that has appeared most often on the walls of teenagers' bedrooms. The mirror acts as a frame within a frame. This is a visual trick that Elliott loved. Because we're viewing the reflection of the couple, the interaction becomes more intimate and our view a bit more voyeuristic. It makes us feel that romance exists in a self-contained space and is also fleeting. In this image, New York City, Bulldog and Feet, 1946, Elliott must have been watching and positioning himself as he was preparing to take the picture. When the bulldog's head completely obscured the man's head, he snapped the shutter. It's obviously a joke, but also a social commentary. He's poking fun at the idea of humans considering themselves superior to other species. Paris, France, man jumping, Eiffel Tower, 1989, is a picture that definitely seems to be a homage to Cartier-Bresson's famous shot. Even though a large portion of this image is made up of white space, he still managed to include a number of figures and elements that echo the shape made by the stretched legs of the jumping man. There's also a nice play between the jumping man's full umbrella and the collapsed umbrellas held by the couple. This is a shot that he did for a client, so he set it up. It's called New York City Doglegs 1974. The client wanted to advertise boots, and Erwitt used a Great Dane and a Chihuahua hired from an agency. He knew that dogs were ideal for shoe ads because they draw the viewer's eye down towards ground level. It's a very simple composition, but it's packed with social commentary. The strong legs of the Great Dane on the left look a lot more elegant to me than the woman's crumpled boots. But both of them are a hell of a lot cooler than the poor Chihuahua on the right. It's been forced to wear this ridiculous outfit and seems almost embarrassed to look at the photographer. All of Erwitt's dog pictures are commentaries on human behavior, relationships, and also on society as a whole.
What is it about dogs? It's everything about dogs. Dogs are wonderful people. They're charming for the most part. I've always had a dog, and they don't ask for prints.
During his long career, he observed beatniks, hippies, yuppies, and millennials. But he was never tempted to follow the latest trends. He refused to dilute his style, and managed to occupy a creative space that was at the same time light and profound. He said that remaining an amateur photographer was the key to retaining his curiosity.
The pictures that I take for my own amusement haven't changed since I began more than 60 years ago. You can tell the difference sometimes because of clothing or automobiles in the background, but essentially I haven't changed at all. I take fewer pictures than I used to. I don't know if that's wisdom or not.
I hope you enjoyed seeing his work, and I'll see you next time.
All photographers strive for that special moment that transcends the subject and transcends the place, and it's something that lasts and can be looked at for years to come. And that's what is called magic.